7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Howdy, CROC Nation. Dr. Tommy and Ellie here with you with another amazing CROC podcast for our amazing CROC survivor thrivers on the other side of the computer screen. Angel Santana, have faith, let it begin. Angel Santana, how are you, my friend?
Happy Sunday, my friend. Happy Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. And happy fall, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Will those clocks be moving up or is that later down the road?
I was looking at that. I think it's going to be later. You know what? I'll have an answer before the end of the episode. How about that?
There you go. Perfect. So, Angel, it's a very strange time in the world. I've lived longer than you have so far, and thus I've had a bigger screen, I guess, a better scope of view. But I don't think I've ever remembered a time that is quite as angry and hostile and difficult than it is right now on this globe. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And that's putting it lightly.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a different place in a different world. And it's almost as if everybody's walking around with a chip on their shoulder. And, you and I love superheroes, right? So we were talking about our favorite superheroes, and you're my Superman guy, and I'm the Batman guy. But we were talking about, watching these superhero movies. There was a really bad superhero movie called The Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I did.
I actually liked the movie, but I know it's a terrible movie. But there's a part where this cloud of fear, it's this dark black cloud of fear, just kind of comes over the earth and sort of parks right on top of the earth and sort of casts this cloud. And, the eventual thought is, we're going to destroy your world until, of course, the Green Lantern comes and defeats this dark force. But I almost feel like that this cloud, this sphere of anger and hostility, and we did toxicity a couple of weeks ago. I almost feel like, it's sort of bringing us into a really bad spot. And it's actually causing people, even that are not angry people like myself. A guy cut me off today in the car. And of course, I didn't do any road rage, but boy, I'll tell you, my brain was going in a bad place. And I just think that, I was thinking to myself this week, wow, we have to do some kind of a series of podcasts or a module of podcasts on kindness, because who deserves kindness more than our cancer survivor thrivers, and who is better able to emit or emote kindness, than our survivor thrivers who have been through so much pain and despair. And then it happened, that sort of God never makes a mistake and there's never a coincidence moments where I had a lady in the office this week and we did our whole spiel. She met everybody and we did the consult. And just when I was leaving, she said, "Hey, you." And I go, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "I have a question for you." And I thought maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I did one of my, bad jokes or something like that. And she said, "What's the matter with this place?" And I thought, oh God, here we go. God, I asked you to show me kindness and you're showing me this. She goes, "Yeah, you. What's the matter with this place?" I go, "Ma'am, what are you talking about?" She goes, "Everybody here is so nice. What is the matter with you guys?" And I said, wow, that's our podcast. That is going to be our podcast one of this new module on kindness. And I really was inspired. Angel, your thoughts?
It's funny you say that. Before I comment to that, when you just said about the whole cutting off thing today, I got to the traffic light, and you know how the other light's starting to turn yellow or orange,
Yes.
and you're about to go. Somebody cut somebody off, and you can clearly visually see that it was an elderly person that was cut off. The
Yes.
young person slowed down on intentionally just to give them the finger.
Really?
And
wow.
I sat there and said, unbelievable. Now,
Yeah,
to that you know, it's amazing you and I had some similar experience. Now, as
Well, I'm
far as
hoping. Yeah, go ahead, buddy. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, it's
You
okay.
can't
So
talk.
as far as what that woman said to you, this goes back to when I first became a co-host on your show. I said to you that was the one big thing that I found amazing is that when you walk into your department, your area, everybody is just happy. There is, you know how they say that face can light up the your sky. Everybody in there doesn't even have to actually physically smile. Their face is happy, and that's I agree.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, we have a lot of responsibility on our shoulders the next couple of weeks because I really feel that we can contribute to trying to turn these things around. And who better to turn them around for than our cancer survivors? So I asked myself two questions after that woman made that comment. I said, number one, why is it so? Why is our department, so nice? And number two is, why we are so different. Why are we so different? And even in our own hospital, and I love our hospital, like tremendously love our hospital. I don't see other departments as sharing that same sort of spirit that we evoke, in radiation oncology. And I asked myself why. So I came up with 10 reasons. And then what we're going to do is going to be really cool, quick podcast. Then we're going to talk about why we're different. Then we're going to tell our listeners who, as we know, they're not always survivor thrivers. They could be, people in the field, caretakers and doctors and nurses, etc., who might be able to, how they can be, how they could achieve what we've achieved. And then lastly, we're going to look at some of the fringe benefits of being kind and being nice and having a nice department where you treat people the way they should be treated, which is awesome. And I don't mean that just for our cancer clinic, although it's very important, probably axiomatic for our cancer center, but really pediatrics and orthopedics and ICU and we really need to sort of display this culture and share it with the world. So number one is that in healthcare, an Angel, I'm going to have you say a few words about this because nobody knows this more than you do. When you're on that phone, and we just had a major catastrophe in Orange County, New York yesterday with a school bus rollover, and you can imagine the implications of that. I don't know there's a job that has higher stakes or higher stress than what we do. And I want you to say a few words on that.
Yeah, I mean, in that field, you don't know what the next minute's going to be. I mean, yesterday was supposedly just a regular. It was my Friday. I had today off. So yesterday was okay. It's my Friday. It's almost the day is pretty much almost done. I'm coming in on my last break, and boom, you find out that there's a tragedy at any given day, at any given moment, any second, any call, even during a call the conversations can just turn ugly and you just cannot prepare yourself for it. So you have to have that inside of you. You have to be able to turn on the patience at a moment's notice.
Absolutely. And I wanted to say that when I look at these 10 reasons of why, people in healthcare aren't nice, I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving possible reasons of why people react the way they do. I'm going to have you chime in on number two as well, because I'm going to use our dear friend Sandra and Millie, our two front desk ladies, along with Erica and Tatiana, four of the sweetest, women you can meet. And, I used to always sort of like somehow give the front desk a hard time because, there's, one mistake could really ruin a day and blah, 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 blah. And then I started to really key in on, what they do in the front desk. And not only do they greet the people that have appointments, they greet people who are lost and don't know where they are and they're stressed out. The phones never stop ringing. So you're doing one thing, you're making appointments, you're getting records, you're returning calls, I'm calling, giving orders, there's a person in your window, 3 people behind them, and the phone doesn't stop. And I could definitely see a person say, you know what, enough. I just can't, there's only so much nice I have in me. But those 4, Millie, Sandra, Tatiana, Erica, they have a never ending source of kindness and niceness for our survivor thrivers and others. And Angel, I see that same characteristic in you.
It's you really have to love what you do. Um, for me, it's not a job. It just really isn't. I can agree with your comments because I've worked with them by sending them calls, and I don't like to call what we call in our industry a blind transfer somebody. That's sending somebody without giving them a heads up notice. So I always try to call them first. Hey, this is Angel. This is what I've got for you. Can you take the call? So you can't say it's a job because of the type of industry we're in. You have to really love what you do, and that is love the people you talk to, regardless if they're good or bad. The fact that each call is different doesn't make it repetitive. And lastly, you just got to be able to believe in what you do, and that's helping people save lives, and
Yeah,
making
no,
them.
no question. No question. The other thing that you could understand is, and you get this a lot, and we just talked about it before we started the podcast tonight, being in a no-win situation. So I gave kudos to the 4 girls and their supervisor, KD, who's a wonderful person. She's a lot like me. She's all about business, and she's also has the OCD, right? So when she gets a task, so setting someone up for an appointment, trying to get the records to make their visit that much more impactful. And she does it in her way, which is, like me, so focused. It's almost as if, we get punished for trying to do the right thing. So she gets this all the time. So people view her as being an obstructionist when in truth, she's just trying to do the right thing for the patient. So imagine trying to do the right thing for the patient, and the patient's getting angry at you and misinterpreting that you're keeping them from their appointment rather than actually helping them. And I think this is when I go and I call it the no-win situation. And that happens all the time. And that could cause people to really turn off and not care. So God bless KD. Today will be the kudos to the front desk day for all those ladies who do such a great job. The other thing, we've spent a lifetime, and if not a lifetime, maybe that's an exaggeration, at least the last 3 years on the CROC podcast, pointing out and highlighting the broken windows in healthcare. And they're global, and they're everywhere, and they're complete, and they're every day. So a person comes in saying, my doctor, I had a mammogram 3 years ago and there was something there, and like they just never called me. Or, hey, I'm here to see Dr. Iannelli, but well, I was supposed to get a CAT scan and like my doctor never called me back. Or, you know, hey, does anyone know if you guys accept my insurance? And hey, I'm supposed to start treatments like tomorrow. I mean, it is such a broken system. And again, Angel, we don't have to get into too much detail, but again, another reason why there's probably such a high burnout and why people or departments, in this case, we're looking at a department, not being considered or viewed as nice. Here's something that you could you could relate to, because I know every time you get mandated to stay an extra shift, would you say you're overworked? I would say everybody in our department is overworked.
I think everybody is just overworked since COVID,
Yeah,
to be
I
very
just think,
honest.
yeah, and then a lot of it is staffing and all that type of thing. But also, I just think being in the medical field, getting back to the first point about the stress and the stakes,
It's mental.
so it is, and it's a lot. And also the other thing is, because it's a broken system, and because you're wearing so many different hats because the system is so broken, It's almost like being a lineman, a linebacker, a safety, a cornerback, all at the same time, like having 11 men in a football field line up against you, and you're the only one there to try to stop the play. It's almost like you feel like, oh my God, I just can't win. And that could beat you down, and again, just take all the life out of you. The other thing, you could really appreciate this. You're underpaid. So all of our people in healthcare are sadly underpaid. And who are the most underpaid people? I'll use you as an example, Angel. You're in a job description that might say switchboard, and it might have a certain like range of salary or whatever. And then, human resources will say, well, Angel, you're in the 44th percentile of the switchboard operators of America make, and blah, 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 blah. And the truth of the matter is, there's people like you. We had Jane Capizella on not too long ago. I use her as a shining example. These are people that are being paid at a level that is, even though that's what their job description is, they're performing at such a level, like a skyscraper higher than that. And you, Angel, come to mind as well as being one of those really, a gem for the medical system, because to them, as far as HR goes, you're a switchboard operator, but you're like so much more than that. Janie, so much more than that. So that's for sure. And then what comes right after being underpaid is underappreciated. I think that a lot of times we feel in the healthcare system that we're beaten down. I know I won't name any names, but we were in a meeting this week, and there was a higher level administrator with us, and basically there was a situation, and there was no support. There wasn't a lot of forget about it, even support. There was just a lack of empathy, and the staff really feels that. They feel that even if they don't get what they're asking for, or a question that has an answer that's not what they want to hear, I think if it's delivered with respect and kindness, it's going to be received a lot better, and you're going to feel more appreciated.
Let me ask you a quick question to that.
Yeah.
As a leader,
Yes.
okay, when that happens, given what you said in the very beginning, that this is such a happy atmosphere, and that is delivered in a way where staffing could take it the way you said, how does a leader like you then try to make sure you change that morale? Because I know your team better than anyone, so you felt that. What happened in that situation?
Elementary, my dear Watson. I will get to that. I promise you.
Okay,
Don't
fine.
steal my thunder. I have Thor. I have the lightning hammer, and I need to finish. I will get to that answer though.
No problem.
And it's a great question, by the way. The other thing is, you and I work for a medical system that we both love. We love working where we work. We love the community we serve. We love our coworkers. We even love the people, that are our bosses and our, the administration, because it's just, I know it's not what it was when it was the old Horton Hospital on the top of the hill on Main Street, where everybody knew each other, and there were generations of people that, like, the grandmother worked at Horton, and then the mother worked at Horton, and they worked at Horton, their kids work at Horton. We've lost that for sure. But I still think that the people that are still hanging on by their fingernails, after 3 decades or more, we still have a love of this system, of this hospital, of this community. And I think that, unfortunately, as the medical center grew from the old Horton Hospital to Orange Regional Medical Center, now to Garnet Medical or Healthcare System, or whatever they call it, I think that because of the growth, sometimes there's that like IBM mentality. There's that sort of big organizational thing where, say you're a stellar employee, which you are, by the way, and you say to your supervisor, hey, you know what? It's my kid's first day of school, and I really need to take off, or I have to come in late. Can you cover for me? And like in the old days, yeah, not a problem. We'll take care of it. But nowadays, it's almost as if it's like, hey, sorry, bud, it's against, paragraph 1, subparagraph 3, sentence 2, third line, bullet point 1, there shall be no, coming in late or, whatever. Then you have all the union rules and all that kind of thing. So I think a lot of times people who work in medical centers and in healthcare, they feel a little beaten down by that sort of, I call it the IBM mentality. The other thing, unfortunately, Angel, we're human, so we are governed by some of the laws of human nature. Sometimes we behave like, looking over our shoulders to see what everybody else is getting, looking over our shoulders and seeing that this person might have gotten a bigger piece of cake than we did, or looking over our shoulders and thinking that this person, got preferential treatment, or that feeling that, think like I'm not liked at work, or I'm being picked on, or, hey, why can't I get more? I deserve this. I deserve more. I remember my old philosophy instructor in school was an old priest, and he used to call it he used to say a lot of people sometimes take, kind of tank because they feel that they're not, things aren't going their way. So they don't, behave in a manner that's nice. And today is about kindness and niceness. So sometimes our human nature gets in the way. And then I think we also have unrealistic expectations, but not just us. I also think the people we serve in healthcare have unrealistic expectations. And I think a lot of times, I actually had a conversation this afternoon with a very nice couple, and we went through, I must have spent an hour going through treatment options, and they made a choice, and I wrote it down in my notes, and then they called me. They're supposed to start treatment on Monday, and they say, wait, I don't want this. I want that. And I said, well, this is kind of what you signed up for. And they go, well, I don't care. Can I have this? And I had to stop, and I looked at the case, and I said, you know what? We talked about this. You didn't want this at first, but you want it now. And guess what? You can have it. Absolutely. Not a problem. However, now we got to turn the ship around and come back because you forgot your cell phone, and we have to go back to port and get your cell phone and come back. Our patients, our survivors are also human, and they also suffer the same human frailties that we do. So sometimes their expectations are not realistic about what we can deliver. And then when they get mad at us and berate us, an Angel who's been berated more than you on the switchboard, I think that sometimes can burn people out. But now we're going to turn good. Now the podcast, this is the part where the hero the lava is coming down, and the earth is exploding, and the rocks are churning, and everything looks lost. And then all of a sudden the eyes open, and we look, and we get up, and we start running to safety. And this is the good part of the podcast.
Dun,
And
dun, dun.
exactly, here's the five reasons why I think that the radiation oncology department at Garnet is so different, and how our people are so different. Number one, we have a 100% buy-in to a culture where the patients come first, where the patients come before us, no matter what. If we have sickness, if we don't feel well, if our kids are having a bad day, whatever's happening, we fought with our spouses, our partners, or things just aren't going good, we still believe that the patient comes first. And I think that's every single person in radiation oncology. And if anybody from the medical center is listening, I'm not excluding you guys. We're just specifically talking about radiation oncology. So don't get your panties all tugged there around your cheeks there. Relax. It's okay. The other thing is what we try. And again, nothing's perfect, right? Because doctors are a bunch of, horses patooties. We try to run a egalitarian environment. Now that's a big SAT word. Egalitarian just means an equal environment. I try, and I don't achieve it at all times, but I really try to make everybody feel that they have agency in the department. I really try to make sure that everyone feels that we're on a level playing field, that there's no one who is ever inhibited about making comments or saying something that might be skeptical or questioning a policy or why we doing something a certain way, or feel that everyone is to be treated exactly the same, whether it's, our beautiful Dax, who cleans our toilets, or whether Nestor, or whether it's like, the neurosurgeon or whoever it happens to be. Everybody is equal. And I think that environment really helps that culture, really helps that attitude. I also feel that we are a family, and I think many departments, I don't see that in the hospital. I don't see where departments are so tight, like where they really feel that they can come together as a family and be there for each other. Whether it be one of our dear people in the department had a terrible tragedy and loss, and everyone picked that person up, and it just was a beautiful thing to see. And knowing that everyone is there for each other is fantastic. There is also a lot of pride. I noticed that everybody in radiation oncology has pride about what their job is, and they really don't want to be good. They want to be great. They believe that good is the enemy of great. They don't want to be just average. They don't want to be good. They don't want to be very good. They don't want to be very, very good. They don't want to be incredibly good. They want to be great. They want to be the best. They want to have the best department, not just the best community department. I think they want to have the best department in the world. And the last thing is exactly what you said, Angel, and this is fantastic. They believe, they have bought into the culture that when they come to work every day, they're not doing a job. They're coming to work to do something that is sacred and holy, that's been, basically harked by the angels, and that they make a difference every day for very, very wonderful and worthy patients. And Angel, we always don't just come up with problems, we always come up with solutions. So say you're a manager working in a department in healthcare in, Topeka, Kansas, or in, South Bend, Indiana, or wherever you happen to be, how can you guys be different? How can you create this? So now I'm going to answer your question. It all starts with leadership, right? It all starts with the top, and not just with the medical team, because to answer your question, like that situation that happened this week, unfortunately, I'm in a weird spot because I'm self-employed, but have a contract with the hospital. So I can't really get too much involved in some of the, inner struggles of the things between the admin and the workers in the department, which is unfortunate. But I do know that it has to start with Jonathan. And Jonathan is a terrific man. I've now met with him a bunch of times. Oh my God, Angel, what a good guy. I mean, I thought, and it was between Jonathan and Jerry. And I'm thinking, wow, who could be better than Jerry? Well, Jonathan's not better than Jerry, but he's just as good, and they're amazing. But Jonathan is a very special man. So I know, and it's not going to come across yet. It's going to take a while because we're dealing with, a financial crunch and all that type of thing. And he's got to make some of the hard decisions now. But I know that his goodness and his kindness and his niceness, it will bleed down. It will trickle down into the emergency room. It will trickle down into the pediatric ward. It'll trickle down to radiology. It'll trickle down to every single department, dialysis. It'll trickle down to everything, because that's how good of a leader he is. I think he will be. And I think that he will create that culture. And then it has to be also like, I went to Normandy, to give pay tribute to our World War II vets on that day. And, we all know about D-Day in Normandy and how that was a great day for America and how we won that battle at great cost. But I've said this on the podcast, the generals did not win that battle. The colonels didn't win that battle. The lieutenants and captains did not win that battle. The colonels didn't win that battle. It was the privates and the sergeants and the corporals. It was the people in the trenches. So even though Jonathan may have a vision for our medical center, It's really all the medical directors of each of the departments. It's all the administrators, not just the high administrators. It's also the mid-level administrators. And that's the vision. That's the culture that has to start. And you can't create a culture by this. You can't create a culture by talking. You can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, but you got to walk and walk and walk and walk. You have to create this culture by your actions, not by your words. Number two, institutional support and recognition. There was a situation where we had one of our amazing young ladies in the department. She was a nurse, what would you say, a nurse assistant, because she was working to get her nursing license, and she passed her boards, and the hospital called wind of it, HR specifically, and they say, "Oh, congratulations, you're fired," because you can't be a nursing assistant when you have when you pass your boards. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is that there was no real plan for when this person would eventually, take their board. So if they have somebody who's a stellar performer,
Right.
and a wonderful person, and somebody you want to keep in your organization because they're very talented and they're a rising star, then what you do is you say, okay, whoever you are, I'm not going to name her name. We're going to hire you as a nursing assistant. We've heard great things about you. We want to keep you in our organization. So let's put that plan together. When are you taking your boards? Okay, let's assume you're going to pass it because you're smart and you're going to pass. All right, what happens next? Because soon as that happens, you can't be in that role anymore.
Right.
So let's have a plan in place for when that happens. And that's the thing, like HR didn't do anything wrong, but they did it the wrong way. I support them. But boy, wouldn't it have been nice if they went that little extra step and been able to retain that talent. So, that's some of the things, the institution, the support, the recognition. I think you actually just had, I want to say, a proverbial cup of coffee with Jonathan, just giving him some ideas on how you can make your switchboard better, right?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
one was in passing or whatever. That's the support these, that the bigger centers, these healthcare systems have to have in place. Also creative team building. Angel, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I'm going to pat myself on the back. I don't think anyone over the decades have done more team building than I think I have. I think that had I not done all that team building, I could probably have a mansion like in Bonaire, like right on the ocean, with a big yacht and the whole thing. But creative team building, it makes a huge difference. Like, take your staff out to a ball game, go out to dinner, go have liver rounds, have a drink, have a pizza party or whatever, or go have a comedian come in, or, bring in a food truck or whatever, do something cool. So everybody feels appreciated and they feel together as a team. Also, you want to make sure that they're in a safe and secure and nurturing environment, right? You want to have an environment where there's no backbiting and everybody is respectful to each other. And you really have to have a zero tolerance for anything less than that. And then the last thing, and I think this is really important, if somebody screws up, which they will, including me, including you, because we are not perfect, we want to make sure that environment for them, how you could make this environment better, how you could, again, try to motivate your department to behave at that level of kindness and niceness, is not make everybody feel that if they screw up, they're going to get in big trouble, or they're going to be written up, or they're going to go to administrative jail or whatever. Make it a non-punitive, judgment-free zone where if somebody makes a mistake, of course, sit down with them, talk to them, make them aware of what went wrong, make them aware of how they could avoid it happening again. But like the old school handshake, we don't need to put it in your file kind of thing. And that would go a long, long way. And lastly, Angel, before I open it up to you, some of the fringe benefits of running a department that is nice and kind is that the outcomes of your patients will be better. It's been proven. There will be less lawsuits. You won't have any lawsuits because you will have created a family environment with your patients and their families with your personal work family. And last but not least, everybody who works in that kind of department will have a level of fulfillment of what they do that will be second to none. Angel Santana, your thoughts?
I think that we can go back to the most important thing, and that is what we can take from this is that attitude reflects leadership. And I take that from, the movie with Denzel Washington, the football movie, Disney movie. I had it in tip of my tongue and I just lost it. But
Titans?
yes, Remember the Titans. That's one of the best lines from that movie is that attitude reflects leadership. Um, one of the things that I want to point out is, and you just nailed it at the very end, which was when you can create an environment that is so fun, so family oriented, you don't feel as if you're walking into a job. You have now walked into your second home, and home away from home makes the heart grow fonder, and it makes that stress level that you could have had be less. And that is the type of environment you created. Finally, I would like to add that I didn't forget, November 5th will be the turning the clocks back for those of you that were waiting for me to finally get that answer out. But yeah, that's it. And I think there's a great quote. In the end, I think we've heard it. In the end, only kindness matters.
There you go, Angel Santana. So listen, all you guys listening out there, I want to tell you, when you get diagnosed with cancer, that's the sledgehammer, right? You just got hit square in the face. And it's like your whole life starts to become questioned as far as what's going to happen, where you're going, are you going to make it? And you're scared and you haven't really gotten your treatment plan yet. And you go to that front desk, and boy, that first moment you see Sandra, that first moment that you see Millie, that first moment that you see Tatiana and Erica, it's like, wow, I'm at home. And then, Katie kind of comes around and says, hey, you're Angel, right? Oh, you're the lady who got my records. Thank you very much. And it's almost like we know you already. And then all of a sudden, one of the angels of mercy, one of those amazing nurses comes to pick you up, Marie and Jessica and Alyssa and Caitlin and Guzzy and everybody. And they come and they get you and they bring you to the room and they say, oh, it's going to be okay. Here comes Dr. Iannelli. You could hear him Miles screaming down the hall. Here he comes. And this crazy guy walks in a room wearing a jersey and hopefully, again, shows you kindness and goodness and then introduces you to the amazing therapists. And there's too many to mention, but you know who you are, and the amazing physicists and dosimetrists and, our amazing clerical staff, Evelyn and everybody else, and our navigators and our managers. And all of a sudden, like, you leave there and you say, wow, what's the matter with those guys? They're so nice. Why can't everybody be that nice? And I want to tell you guys, you deserve nothing less than that. Angel Santana, have faith, let it begin. Thank you for everything, my brother. Please, everybody, listen to his podcast. I want to also thank my friend Rod Freeman from Small Biz Up. Rod, it's been nice talking to you this week. I look forward to working with you more. Look forward to having dinner with you next month. God bless you, my friend. God bless you. To the board of directors, thanks for everything you do for our survivors/thrivers, for everything, for every moment, for every thoughtful comment, for every note you give to Angel and I to make this podcast better, for giving up your time and your effort and giving us your talents to make our survivor thrivers lives better. We thank you so much. Michael John Benzea, Charlotte Larson, for your support and belief in us. And of course, lastly, it's about you guys. It's about you survivors, you thrivers. You guys are so loved. You guys are so worthy. You guys are so strong and courageous. You guys have been through hell in a handbasket, but you came out the other side and has made you stronger. You guys are absolutely the Navy SEALs, the Special Forces, the Green Berets, the Marines, of healthcare, of our patients. You guys rule and you rock, and you couldn't be more loved. We are hopeful that this podcast has given you some insight. I hope it always has a small tidbit of information that can make your life better. And we end this podcast like we leave every podcast by wishing you all a long, healthy, happy, and cancer-free life. God bless you. God be with you. Peace.